Hello. Lady MeeLing, Lady Dori, Belle, Reverend MeeLing, Reverend Susan MeeLing, Susan MeeLing. I've been known by a few names. And so, in this regard, I do not want to come across as arrogant because of the fact that I'm just not an arrogant person. And I know that there are plenty of people who have said, I'm not arrogant, and then prove themselves to be arrogant, though I would hope that my pattern of behavior would essentially give that proof of the aspects of my lack of arrogance. Though I know that sometimes some people take confidence as arrogance, and that is very different. Confidence is being, secure in oneself with what they do and are capable of, in comparison to arrogance, where it's a false pretense of something that they wish that they could do, in my opinion, at least. So, in regards to the aspects of that, what I'm about to talk about, I'm really wanting to preface this particular video before going into it that I'm not trying to come across as arrogant. I do have some proof that could be verified if you go and research it. So there was a point in time when I was engaged to the same individual twice, and there were some situations that had occurred that I had not been able to fully explain to that individual for a multitude of reasons at the time. And while the time just before our second engagement, I had been visited because he came out to where the house was in Cedar Park that I had rented at the time. Came out to visit, and we talked for a while, and I had noticed there was something wrong when I saw him. And I don't mean like I saw him. Okay, so he showed up to my door and he was like this. And when he gave me a hug, after he gave me a hug, he put his hands back behind his back. And he had done that randomly, when before we had been engaged the first time or even dated the first time, he would randomly do that. So I didn't really think much of that because that's just, kind of the way he would, when he was nervous, he'd just kind of do that and just, do that. So it wasn't a big deal in that regard. So he had shown up, talked a little bit. Well, I smoked and stuff. I mean, he smoked cigarettes too, but I also was medicating myself at the time. And so, he was just, just kind of, what he was smoking. And it was just one of those. I just continued speaking. He continued speaking. Though he just kind of kept the one hand to his side, and it wasn't realistically anything that was different in regards to how he naturally spoke with me prior. And, during the discussion, I was listening to him, he was listening to me, we went back and forth, and then it was one of those, what is wrong? Like, out of nowhere, I'm just, what is wrong with you? And he kind of just, wait, what? And I said, what is wrong with you? And what do you mean? What is wrong with you? There is something that is wrong with you. Like, I can't tell what it is. What is wrong with you? And he just, well, thanks. You know, no, don't try being cute and stuff. You know, just, what is wrong? There is something wrong. I feel it. Just feel, what is it? And that was when he had told me that there was a tank shell that fell on his hand, and it had severed one of his fingers. Let me see it right now. And he was just, okay. I started looking at, where's your gauze? Where's your cleat-up kit? And he goes, well, it's not time for me to change it. It is right now. Go get it. I mean, I got a first aid kit. I can handle that. And I you know, don't even bother going to your car. And he was just, what? Stay right there. I went and I got my first aid kit. And I took the gauze off, and I did what I did, not just in the physical thing. He literally watched as I cleaned out his wound and stop. I mean, I understand why it hurts, but... And so, for those who understand certain studies in regards to quantum, I don't want to say quantum physics or quantum mechanics, but those who understand energetic healing, and in certain regards, quantum healing in that regard, it was essentially, that is the only wording I have, is quantum healing and quantum type of surgery. Because I was able to see certain things that were wrong, and not in any offense towards the doctors at Colleen in Fort Hood. It's just one of those, okay? And so I saw how far the infection had gone into his hand and where it was starting to spider web further, and it was just one of those, okay? And I warned him. I said, what I'm about to do is going to hurt. And he's like, it already hurts. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt what I'm about to do. And he was just, I'm big and straight. Yeah, you're cringing at me taking off the gauze. I actually have to clean out the wound. I have to push back part of your skin to get to the physical area that I can clean in order to do the rest of what I have to do. And he just, okay, yes, dear. Yes, dear. And so I did what I did. I can't explain it beyond that. And so afterwards, you know, okay, it's not gonna hurt after this next section. And he was just, yeah, okay, yeah. You sound like I kicked you between your legs and you're gonna try to tell me it doesn't hurt. Don't lie to me. You're going like this in the chair. I don't think so. I don't think so. So cute, but no. And it's gonna be the last part that hurts. And he was just, doesn't hurt. That bad. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Yeah, it doesn't hurt. So on the count of 3, you're gonna feel it. And he was like, what do you mean I'm gonna feel it? Oh, I thought it doesn't hurt. Yes, it's gonna hurt in a minute. It's gonna be the last time it hurts, but it's gonna hurt. So I'm gonna count to 3. When I count to 3, before you finish blinking, you'll feel it, and then you'll be good, and it'll be cool, and everything will not be an issue anymore. And just, Yeah, yeah, it doesn't hurt. Okay, I'm not kicking you between your legs. Just throw that, just say it. Like it doesn't hurt, but yeah, okay. Yes, manly, yeah. One, two, three, did what I did. Oh, and yeah, I just don't move. I would have to do it over. And that was, you do what you gotta do. You do what you gotta do. I don't want to deal with that again. Cool. But it doesn't hurt. You many years. Yes, dear. Okay. Sure. And and I'm not doing what I actually did, and I'm just moving my fingers for the visual aspect. So I did what I did, and I finished up, and I wrapped up the wound, and he's like, well, the doctor said, yeah, the doctor said what the doctor said, I've got to do it this way. And it's not at any offense towards the doctors that you see, I just have to do it this way for what I'm doing right now. And when you go back to the doctor, it's going to be much better. And so, and you're going to be able to live. And that's all, because when's your next appointment? And he was like, in like a couple of weeks or whatever. I'm like, yeah. So the doctor's going to tell you, how did it heal so quickly? Oh my God. And, I'm just letting you know, tell him that, I worked on it and I cleaned it out. And, make sure you tell him or her, whoever your doctor is, about the pain that you felt before I started working on it. You need to let that doctor know. And he was just like, why? And I told him, I said, because the doctor needs to know so that way he or she can make notations, and if there are certain procedures that were done to your hand, they are able to handle it. I'm surprised that they did not cauterize this at first. And he was just, what do you mean cauterize it? Burn it. And he goes, what do you mean burn it? Do you know what fire is? Like, have you heard of this thing? It's called fire? Yeah? Okay, well, like, it's really hot. And, kind of burn it. I mean, I understand stitching certain things at certain times, but your bones, like, there's not the infection in there anymore. It's going to, the sensations you're feeling that you didn't tell me, you're going to not feel. You already feel how you can move your hand a little bit easier, even though you're not supposed to right now, but you can feel how there's that tension that's gone. And yeah, okay, yeah, you need to make sure you tell the doctor that. You need to let him know this, and so on and so forth. Well, similarly to the aspects of being able to do that, prior to dating him the first time, and obviously prior to the first engagement, there had been a situation on I-35. As a bigger example, that would be easy for people to be able to research, essentially. There was a big pile up. It was in 2008. Several semi-trucks, like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. A dump truck was upside down, twisted, and facing oncoming traffic, and one semi-truck off on the median. And I had ran over after calling 911, jumped in the cab, and got the guy out. And at some point there was a news reporter who asked me questions, and I wasn't trying to be rude when I answered honestly, because what I did, I was not taught by the Army. The Army did not teach me that. Part of it was taught to me by my biological father, because he had done certain things as far as studying with RN stuff. And then other stuff I knew how to do on my own. So I wasn't, and when I get nervous, sometimes, and I can't be the only person, and the zapping thing was different when it came to that microphone. And so I was just one of those, right when I was asked the question, I got zapped and it was kind of tickled. And so it was at the, no, no, the Army didn't teach me because I didn't finish basic training. And it wasn't being rude to the Army. It wasn't being rude to the military of the United States of America's Armed Forces. It wasn't that at all. It was just one of those, no. And the microphone did, but I couldn't say that because I didn't understand what was going on at the time. Just and so, you know, the sides of my head, they weren't waxed at that time, but it was the same style of haircut. And this tattoo was not there. This tattoo was not there, but the one that's underneath that you can see with a black light was there. That was there. That was there. And then this portion was there. But the rest of the tattoos were not. And so I had the haircut, but to where my ears are, and the wispies, and then the tattoo on the back of my neck that would be able to be seen, but, you know, I was facing the camera, not talking like this, you know. And so, you know, that's an example because that particular individual, he was in and out of consciousness. He was spitting teeth out, and spitting blood in as well. It was just, it was what it was. And there was another situation where there was an attack as far as a kid. He was a teenager, but he had been scratched by a cat that did not have shots, and it didn't have records, and it was when I got there, his shoes, like, he had lost so much blood. I mean, so much blood. I really, like, I'm glad that I sped over when I did. I still feel bad that I finished my cigarette. Realistically, it was 2 puffs, but that was it. I still feel bad, because, not that that realistically was that much time, because I still had to wait for the person that was in front of me to check out and pay for their ticket, so it didn't make any difference in time whether I finished my cigarette or not. But I still feel bad because I am the way I am. And I got that kid where he needed to go to get the medical treatment that he did. And so in that regard, when it came to the male who I was engaged to twice, and that, didn't know about the internet issue, hacking stuff, didn't know about the techie stuff being messed with or any of that. And so one day before, and I don't mean one day before going to Dallas, I mean one day as in some time before going to Dallas for an event. The guy I was engaged to was supposed to be there, and he wasn't. And then, but he had already told me about something with his mom. And he said that there was a health concern. And I said, well, you know, let me know if there's anything I can do to help. You know, and he kind of just laughed, and it was one of those, no, like your hand type of help. And when I said that to him, he just kind of, okay, I'll keep that in mind. I'm like, okay. I didn't hear from him. And I didn't see him after that. And didn't realize techie stuff at that regard. So pausing there and going back before my head injury on Palm Sunday in 2000, when I went to Tony Ann Farinella had a sleepover before her Sweet 16. And there were a bunch of females, including myself, obviously, there. And Tony Ann said she wanted to play with the Ouija board. And I said, I don't think we should. I don't think it's a good idea. And everyone's like, oh, come on, it'll be fun. All right, fine, whatever. Let me do some stuff to keep people safe. Let me do that. And everyone's like, oh, whatever. I was like, I have to. So I did what I needed to do. And then, whatever you believe spiritually is whatever you believe spiritually. And so I had listened to the questions that the females were asking. I was like, does so-and-so like me? Does so-and-so like me? Does so-and-so like me? It's like, why are you? Do you understand you're pissing off the spirit that is right there, like asking such stupid questions? And the females were like, oh, well, why don't you ask? I was like, well, when's the death for me? Where, that occurs. And Ouija board thingamabob started moving around on its own. Like, none of the females, including myself, had our hands on it. I had taken my hands off because I was like, what are you doing? And it just kind of spun around on its own. And I was just like, I want to know. And all of the females were like, why would you want to know that? And I was like, well, if you knew that you only had so much time, wouldn't you want to know so that way you could live the best that you possibly could? And if that day comes, you can guarantee that there are no regrets at all. And they just, whatever, and the little thingamabob on the Ouija board just kept spinning and spinning. It's like, I better put my hands on it. I want to know. So I put my hands on it, a couple others put their hands on it, and it went to the numbers 2 and then 9. And I was like, so I'll be 29 years old, and I went to yes. And then I asked, what will it be up? And it spelled out murder, then rape. And I admit I freaked out. Because I was like, I had already dealt with what I dealt with at Baptist Camp Lebanon. I didn't need to deal with anything else. And so I, done. And cleared everything up, and I had to calm myself down. I think her name was Teresa. She came over and she's like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know why it spelled it out that way. Because in a normal circumstance, it would be one and then the other. It wouldn't be, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, that doesn't make sense at all. Well, if you take into consideration certain regards of targeting, taking advantage of certain things, and then the fact that Matrice Renee, her then boyfriend, Renee's bitch, Jason, and then Patrick Kennedy, who I was introduced to through Philip Olmsted, would not leave me alone at all during that event. It was one of those, I know that something is wrong, but I don't know what is wrong. What is the problem? Like, he should be here. Like, I haven't heard from him. I haven't had a phone call. Something is wrong. And they would not such. There was not a minute at that event when they weren't within like a 5-foot vicinity of me. it's like there's something wrong and I don't know what it is. And then there was a point where, and I can admit this, I don't like to, but I'll admit it, I started crying. And I don't know what time it was. I just know that was just, this doesn't make sense at all. Like, and then afterwards, there was, came out of the bathroom because I'm the way I am, and Mattress Renee was doing something, and then there was a flash, and it was just one of those, where am I? I don't understand what just happened. And Renee was like, oh, you were gonna go hang out with Patrick, and Patrick wanted you to, you know, play with him and stuff. No, I'm engaged. And she was like, no, you're not engaged. You're not engaged at all. You're not dating anyone. Lady Dori, Belle, just forget about that. You're not engaged. You're not dating anyone. There's nothing for you to think of for that. And I was just, I thought I was engaged. I thought I was engaged. And she was like, you were engaged a long time ago. Years ago. Don't you remember? Like, it was years ago that you were engaged. Yeah, I guess. What year is this? And she told me whatever year it was. And I was like, oh, I guess so. It's been since 2010. So yeah, I guess, yeah, you're right. I guess it's just that memory thing. Okay. My mistake. Huh, that's kind of weird. And so, you know, then later on, started dating Patrick, though I don't know how, in a lot of ways. And I know that sounds weird, but that is what it is. And then, because of everything that was going on, making sure my daughter was okay, making sure my son was okay, and then a new residential treatment center in Little Rock, Arkansas, and discussed that with my son, and as far as his sister, and moved back to the DFW area, trying not to be in the Carrollton Farmers Branch Independent School District, ironically moving to the center of Carrollton Farmers Branch Independent School District despite being in Irving. Yeah. And then towards the end of 2011, it was right at the beginning of 2012, which would be when I was still 29 years old. There was the shotgun in my face thing because of Patrick and all that, and left and over and all that stuff. Whether you want to consider the aspects of, again, the targeting aspects in regards to the point of Cowboys Dance Hall in 2013 or not in that regard, that I understand can be considered a gray area. I get that. I will say, though, that I didn't finish that Shinerbach, not just because I can't handle alcohol, but there was kind of a bubbly type of thing similarly to the Corona, and in regards to prior, and but I thought that that's how beer is. Like, I've poured beer before, so you know there's that bubble stuff. thought that's part of it when you get it out of a bottle. I don't know. I don't really drink. So, however, in regards to the aspects of in 2011, if in that regard was because of the technology issues that I obviously didn't know were a possibility as far as the hacking or any of that sort of stuff, then, and if in regards to if there was a thing where Sean had tried to get me to show up, which I would have, and I would have done what I needed to do to get that to be okay. I mean, I know myself, I know how I am. I would not blame those individuals in regards to Sean's family and friends blaming whoever caused the problems in reference to the hacking issues for murder, because of the fact with not just those situations that I've given as examples of where I have very much, they were on the brink of death and nope, not your time yet, not yet, not now, nope, not allowed. Yeah. Let's go. Alright. I would not blame them if they viewed those individuals who were responsible for that, especially in regards to the aspect of my now ex-boyfriend Jesse Leroy Hoover Jr. having, when the email came through, saying, because he was the one who had brought up, well, you know, you angered, who did I date in Congress? I know I like them older. I do. I do. Because usually older guys know how to be chivalrous, and they know how to be respectful, and they know, you know, like simple things such as, you know, opening a door or, you know, not being like a childish millennial in certain, not all millennials obviously, but just there are certain ones, just, you know, there is an air about them where there is not the arrogance, there is the confidence. And yes, when they get nervous, it's actually kind of cute. To me, it's kind of cute, where it's like, you're so much older than me, but you're just like, that's so cute. That is so cute. and you know, and I've realistically, I've kind of always liked him older. I am the way I am. And so, whatchamacallit, there is, if that is an issue in that regard, to if something occurred in that where I could have done the energetic thing that I did when it came to who I was engaged to twice, where I worked with the doctors despite not actually doing the doctor stuff, and added certain things because I know how I am, and I know that I would have sent what I needed to send energetically on my way to be able to give that additional boost. The only thing I can say is, if that is an issue and that did occur, then I refer to the aspects of when I was in my first apartment at USAA Boulevard, where all I could do for that 911 phone call was take the pain away. Which in certain regards, if that's hypothetically reality in that regard, then at least there's that solace where there was no pain felt at all, despite whatever was going on. But at the same time, in that similar sort of way, depending on what you believe, and if you can hear the wind, it was not windy earlier at all. That could have been where she had survived. And so, and not to put salt in any wounds or make anybody upset, at me at least. They could have at least had 5 more years with her. She still would have passed, inevitably. But they could have had 5 more years. Just saying. So I'm going to